are ready for the next talk. I promise it to be a very interesting one. Let me once again introduce to you our honored guest speaker for this session, Mr. Martin Yap. Mr. Yap is the founder and CEO of Care Concierge, a home care services company which promotes the aging in place concept. Now, I mentioned aging in place as well, and some of you might already be wondering what it's about. Well, the time has come now for Mr. Yap to explain that, as he also takes you through senior lifestyle and elderly care options in Malaysia. So Mr. Yap, if you're ready, I'll hand it over to you right now.
Thank you very much, Raj. Thanks, Jasmine and Penny as well for the opportunity to speak today, and congratulations on the launch. I will perhaps share my screen. Okay, great. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yes, it's showing now.
Okay, great. So thank you for the opportunity to talk today. I'm very excited about talking about aging in place and what does aging in place mean. I think it's a term that's been used quite a lot. And so today I'll try my best to identify and also explain what it is all about. But before that, maybe I'll do my second introduction as well about who we are. So myself, I'm Martin. I'm the founder and CEO of Care Concierge. I have a background in architecture, and I've jumped into in senior care as an operator for Care Concierge. And I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. As Care Concierge, we're an award-winning care service provider. We specialize in elder care and post-hospitalization recovery care services. And we provide nurses, therapists, and caregivers to seniors and wherever they are. So we have our home care services across nationwide, as well as we run a lot of assisted living facilities. One of them you might know is called The Mansion. We've got 3 locations, as well as we are launching one big independent living center with UA called Commune Living and Wellness that will come out in the first quarter. What we do have is also a proprietary tech platform that you see the app that we have on the right side. Yeah. So, okay, enough about me. I think let's go and jump into aging in place. And what does aging in place mean? So in terminology wise, aging in place is really an idea that for a senior to live and age in their residence of choice for as long as they're able to, by having access to services and care that meets both their short-term and long-term needs. So what's interesting about this concept of aging in place is that you have the ability as you age, and in terms of going in grace and dignity, to be able to choose your own kind of living space that you want to. So it's also very traumatic sometimes to move from different stages in your life, from going from your own home to having a choice of going to assisted living or that kind of thing. But having this, you are basically the person that's in charge, right? So aging in place really refers to continuing to live in a more age-friendly community space with some level of care we can still enjoy independent living. But to continue on that, I would like to share the concept of the spectrum of care for older adults, which is really the different stages that an older adult goes through. And there are many different terminologies here, but we will use this from independent, semi-dependent, dependent, and palliative, which is end-of-life care, right? So these are the different stages a senior goes through, from being very mobile to needing some care, what we call
sorry, we can't hear you.
ADLs, activities of daily living, as you continue on to end-of-life care. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me, or is it breaking up a little bit? Okay, I'll just continue. If you can't hear me, then I'll just let me know. All right. So apologies for that. So home care is really about sending care, providing the care at the home. So you've got caregivers, occupation therapists, physiotherapists that come to take care of you, and you can see it really takes on the entire spectrum of care. Then we've got things like daycare, which is the independent, for seniors to go to have, is really similar to having a clubhouse. And then you've got nursing homes, assisted living, which are facilities that you stay in and independent living and retirement village and hospice. And I'll go through some of these options that you have. So the first one about home care, again, is about having the support in your own house. That means that all the services are available to you. Your house can then be converted or adjusted so that you have things like grab rails, shower seats, and having panic buttons so that you're being taken care of in your home. Then if you go to daycare, it's really about the kind of active seniors that want to pursue their interest and passion. So this kind of daycare, as you can see, it's all about activities and building a sense of community. Usually it's in an environment that you spend in the daytime and then you come home after that, right? The next one is independent living units. So this aging in place concept of normal condominiums or service apartments that have been converted to care for your aged care. So the image that you see is actually one of our centers in Penang called Tanjung Point Residences. And what we do is that you stay in a 2 or 3 bedder apartment together with your family, your friends, and then the care is taken care for you from that point of view. And assisted living is more like a nursing homes or assisted care, where you have more higher level of support that focuses on nursing care and professional caregivers, as well as having to live with in a community. So this is a chart or table to show the differences of services that most of these products will provide. The blue ones really focus on the kind of services that are full-time, and the yellow ones are pretty much on demand. So we break it up into 3 parts, which is basically the medical and nursing component. The yellow one is really about community and social activities. And the green one is really about what we call the services and things like meals and housekeeping that you can add on. So what it really means also is that in different categories, you have different options. And as you know, like nursing home and assisted living, they might look very similar, but it also means that the different kind of quality of care makes it a bit different. Yeah. So the idea is to, as you're looking at aging in place, you should be looking at the type of options that really suit you, and also thinking forward. There are actually many options that might suit depending on the conditions you are. Yeah. So what kind of care do older adults need, right, in general? Based on our experiences as well, I think the key here is that there are many, many different aspects. But the important thing is always about, for us, is to have the connection. So one of the important things is about having a place that community building, having building relationships, and also having the comfort and the aspect that your healthcare is taken care of. But again, very important that we look at all these kind of services or things in totality. Yeah. Okay, so today I'll just mention about what to consider when you're looking for options for aging in place, right? So we really break it down into 6 parts: care professionals, community, environment, safety, and purpose. So the first thing about care, it's important that you, any facility or any place, even in your home, to think about it in a long-term basis, because conditions changes as you at any stage, right? So what we normally do is that we try to work out a personalized and comprehensive care plan that allows you to go through point by point in terms of what are your short-term care and long-term needs. And that can be done by a medical professional to say that, you're quite independent at the moment, but things like your mobility as it continues on, what would be the type of plan or strategy that you have. That gives you the ability to then, plan, for long term, and also to maintain the quality of life. The next one is the care professionals, right? So knowing that you have whoever you engage, that either they're nurses, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and caregivers, that they have the experiences to take care of you, as well as the kind of training and resources. But it's also important to have good communication, and also understand their professionalism in that sense. The third thing that we look on actually is important, as mentioned, is actually community. So any kind of place that you look at, or even at your home, is really to kind of build the connection there and a sense of being together. So in traditional terms, our kopitiam culture, where we meet up with family and friends, we chit chat and things like that. It's very important that we keep that going, no matter what kind of options that you have. And so in this context, you see the image there is actually our the mansion. We actually do a lot of activities that try to build this kind of community of like-minded individuals. So you see things like flower arrangements, enjoying a lot of festive and occasions. So this really so I've got a video here of our center. Environment really makes the kind of space or environment that you like, right? So it doesn't have to be a very uptight place when you talk about security and safety. It's about the feeling that you have. So the openness of being together. Also looking at things like the kind of social and community gatherings, as well as the facilities as well. So environment plays a big part. And of course, now we talk about safety. I just want to show you that we have this kind of app where we track your daily vitals and health, and no matter what, it's basically about making sure that that the day-to-day that someone is there in case of any emergencies, right? And some of the features that you will look for in terms of accessibility are things like having grab rails, shower seats, having ramps. There's actually a code. We have a code Malaysia standards 1184 sorry. That really focuses on making sure that the environment itself is safe, that's well designed. Now you talk about color coding certain environments so that even if you're independent, as you continue on to dependent stage, those are well taken care of. Yeah. Okay, so the last one is really about purpose. In any case, it's very important that there's always a renewed sense of purpose in terms of positive. It's also being about positive. It's about having the ability to, or the push to to learn new things. That it actually helps with your health, right? So it's about quality of everyday living, that we want to be happy and healthy no matter what's the condition. And any kind of environment or choice that you choose should be really about the purpose, and the people that you choose to is the same thing as well. Okay, so really the summary is basically about care. When you talk about aging in place, it's about care professionals, having good community, a nice environment, keeping yourself safe, and knowing that whatever facility it is, it's about the purpose that you have there, and that's very important. So that's really a kind of a short presentation for me, just talking about aging in place. But if you want to know more about us, you can do that. Just checking our website, and then perhaps maybe open up to questions and Q&A. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Martin Yap. That was very enlightening as well to learn about the options available for seniors and even members of family members who have senior people that they're taking care of, to have the options that are not the kind of, I would say, traditional ways of looking at taking care of seniors and all that. So thank you very much for that. Now, before we move on to the next, before we move on to the Q&A, I believe there is a question. Yes, we do have one question. This is from our participant, Chin. Just one second. Let me just read that out. Just a second, yeah. Chin asks, he says that he noticed that you offer the live-in services, including the preparation of meals. And he's quite interested in finding out a little bit more about that. So would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on that, Mr. Yap?
Sure. Thanks, Shin. I think what you're mentioning is about the home care services, right? So for us, part of this aging in place is also to make sure that the services that we provide, maybe I'll go back to that, and meals is one of the important things. So what we do have, when we do a care plan, oops, I'm going to go all the way up now. Use that. Meals actually means that we do have a dietitian in-house, that we prepare the kind of meals that are good for you. What I did mention before also is that usually we try to, it's a very personalized care, that's our model. So when it comes down to the meals and the kind of services provided, we usually look at it in terms of what's the condition of the client per se, right? Are they active? Are they, do they have, any kind of dietary needs and things like that? And we can provide the services to the home. So that means that it's almost like basically we're a concierge. So whatever you require, we will then customize it for you. But I'm looking at it and the healthy kind of method. So it really depends. It's very customized on that manner. But yes, we can do that.
Great. There's another question here, and this person states that trust is very important. As a service provider, how do you build this? How do you make trust an important aspect of what you offer, and how do you build on this?
Great. So trust is a very important thing for us, because effectively, in order to do our services and to care for the seniors, it's really about building the trust. So one thing is about having an open communication. It's also about accountability. I think what you saw there that we showed about the app was that we designed these kind of apps focusing on making sure that you see what goes on a day-to-day basis. So what we had a problem before was that you didn't know, example, if we send a caregiver to the home or in our nursing or assisted living facilities, you wouldn't know actually what happens on a day-to-day basis. And the idea is that the caregiver will enter the information inside the app, and then you have a secondary layer, which is really a care manager that allows you to communicate. So this is very important for us, is that we see this as a journey together with our clients, right? Whether it's the patient or the family member, and there are always ups and downs, and it's important that we see eye to eye in a manner. So these are tools that we have, but at the end of the day, it's really about communication and understanding that whatever we build is based on that. So another thing to note is that when we send our caregivers, we don't just send anyone, we assess them, and it's done by our professional nursing team to make sure that they're well trained in the first place, and we also match them to the kind of criteria. So if let's say a stroke patient that needs more care, we will make sure that the caregivers are been trained. By the way, we do have our internal training as well. We actually work together with Utah, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, to actually come up with our own caregiving program to ensure that that quality of care is consistent among the caregivers that we send. And so by doing that, we try to build in all these systems and workflows to ensure that you have the best care available at any time. That's very important for us. Yes.
Great, thanks. Another question, actually it's a combination of two questions, but I'll put it in one. A question from Lean is asking if you could share a little info on the cost and fees to give them an idea of how much it costs in terms of what Care Concierge provides. Okay, sure.
So it really depends on the type of services. Things like physiotherapy, we start off with daily sessions, about 120 ringgit per session. But where we have a lot of our services is a live-in. That starts from about 3,800. That means they come in, they stay for 5 days in a week, in a month, right? So that's a monthly package. And it goes up depending on the services. So it could be about 5,000 per month. And what you do have is a professional caregiver that comes in. Same thing with our nursing care, where the assisted living home called the mansion. Those rates go between about 6,000 ringgit, between 6,000 to 8,000, depending on the services that is included. But most of them include meals. We actually have a doctor that comes in weekly. Of course, you have a tracking with our app as well, and our professional nurses and caregivers at 24/7. So perhaps to answer the question as well, if you're interested, you can always just contact us, or we can try to go through, and then we can see what are the packages that you might be interested in.
Great. Another very interesting question, and I think this is something that a lot of people will have on their mind, and this question has been asked by Margaret, who's wondering about the emotional needs of clients and their families. I think as Asian families, we probably have a lot of this at the back of our mind in terms of care for our elderly. And what Margaret would like to know is, will it be traumatic to leave their family members with Care Concierge in that sense? What are the emotional things that Care Concierge has probably, I would think, experienced, and how do you handle that?
This is a very good question, because I think this entire experience, right, it is something that we work a journey together, right? So it's open communication, because all these processes and emotional support and things like that are very key to us, right? And so that's why in the basic idea is about building the community. Therefore, transparency and openness. We normally also have a criteria for our clients as well, is that we keep it transparent as possible, and we go through the options, and family members also get involved, right? So therefore, it's a collaborative experiences, and it's not that we keep everyone open. So that's also facing it frontwards, right? So we normally have our care manager, who is a dedicated person to actually go through with the clients and families this entire experience. On that note as well, it's very important that this process, that's why aging in place is such an important concept, because at the end of the day, it's also about what you require and how we can fit that in. But at the end of the day, the another part also is about, when you talk about community building, Asian culture per se, right? How we talk about, maybe in the sense of Western culture, you talk about psychologists, talking about counselors, that's also important. But we also have another way of dealing with it, and that's really about community, right? Our kopitiam kind of talks, or building the community of social, engagement, allows us to have the therapy as well. So one thing is also that affectionately, if I mention like auntie uncles talking and and going through that, it's really the sense of community that helps you to build that emotional connection and safety in that sense. Yeah. So there are many layers here, but as ourselves, we identify that. So when our centers and the mention and things like that, we put an emphasis for that. So open communication, bringing them together in the journey together, so that there's transparency, and making sure families are well into it, as well as making sure that the community is there.
Great. Okay, just a quick information to our participants here. For those of you who have any questions about the packages and cost that's provided by Care Concierge, you're more than welcome to give them a call at 1300 22 88 22, or you can WhatsApp them, visit their website or their Facebook page. All the information and the links are in the chat, so do have a look at it. If you have any specific questions about cost and the types or the range of services provided by Care Concierge, by all means, please feel free to contact them. One other question here, Mr. Yap, if I may, and is from Yi, who asks if your caregivers are certified by the Ministry of Health.
Okay, thanks, Yi. I think this is a very good question. We certify them. So in Malaysia, there is at the moment not much in terms of caregiving certification by the government. So what we've done, we've taken a proactive approach, is actually to certify them together with the university. So that's why we mentioned about Utah working together with them, so that there's a standard that is being vetted by the university and the nursing and medical department per se. So what we're doing is that there's no standards in that sense, but we've decided to actually develop this kind of program so that we certify them to a higher standard. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and one other question here is, what about the scope of services in terms of geographic areas? How widespread is the services that you offer in terms of where can Care Concierge go? Would rural areas be included as well? Or is it mainly centered around the Klang Valley at the moment, or in the major cities?
That's a good question. Right now, we are focused on a lot of the urban areas, basically KL, Penang, Johor. We do have our care for the home care is really in different states, that mostly in the cities. But what we can do though is that because we personalize, and we do have a network of more than 2,000 of these caregivers and specialists, it really depends on the location. So perhaps there are some areas that we can actually specialize to actually send a caregiver over there, or even any specialist. So it really depends on the area. But for now, we're still in Peninsula. We're not in Sabah, Sarawak at the moment.
Okay, great. Yeah. Another question from Alice, and she asks, what's the definition of a retirement village as per your slide? What does it consist of?
Okay, that's a very good question. So in terms of the slide, we looked at retirement villages and amalgamation of a lot of these services, right? So the retirement village concept is a little bit more on a master plan size. Therefore, there are a lot of components inside there, right? It's still about community building, but therefore we put retirement village as having your independent living centers, your assisted living care. So it's an amalgamation, a combination of everything in there, and then having their own clubhouse, maybe a medical center. So the idea here is actually a larger scale component of retirement village, again centered on the seniors.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Any other questions? If anyone has any other questions, please, you can still type them in the chat box. But in the meantime, just as a quick reminder again, if you have any questions with regards to the packages and costs that's offered by Care Concierge, we've put up the links to the website, the Facebook page, as well as a number that you can call and WhatsApp Care Concierge as well. Let me just quickly scroll through and see if we have any more questions. That's it for the moment, I think. So,
okay, great.
Just 1 second. Well, Mr. Martin Yap, once again, thank you very much for that very interesting session. I think this is by far one of the most interactive in terms of the number of questions we've got, which is a good
thing. That's great. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the questions as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share what Care Concierge does with our participants today. And I'm sure that they have all come away with some very interesting information and insights from your talk as well. Now,